Today's topic of our panel discussion is Beyond Glass and Steel, Collective Consciousness for Climate Resilience. I think it's a very, very critical topic today, and it signals a shift from treating buildings as isolated structures to treating them as ecosystems for collective consciousness and shared responsibility. With that, let me just start with some facts about the building and the construction sector. Building and construction sector are massive emitters of carbon emissions, accounting for about 1/3 of the global carbon emissions. This means what we design today locks in emissions and risks that we may have to be experiencing in the future decades to come. As per the United Nations, 50% of the built environment of 2050 is yet to be built. Therefore, we've got immense opportunity to integrate climate resilient in our design and in our entire built environment to ensure that we mitigate carbon emissions across the life cycle of any built environment. And we also take adaptive measures to ensure that we sustain any impact from any of the extreme climate-related events that we're witnessing today. Since the time we've started having the conversations around sustainable built environment, there has always been a huge focus on achieving resource efficiency, integrating smart systems, smart automation, efficient technologies, and very limited focus initially was on the entire life cycle of a project or even climate resilience, which is critical for any building. But today we're witnessing that the climate vulnerabilities are for real. It's no more in theory. We're actually facing the impacts of climate-related events in our day-to-day lives, be it extreme rainfall in Mumbai or be it flooding in Uttarakhand or even extreme heat that we're facing in Delhi. It's all real and it is impacting our day-to-day lives and, of course, the overall business ecosystem. As per the World Economic Forum, climate change has also been stated as one of the top risks globally. So it means clearly that, this is a real problem that we are facing today. With this, I would like to highlight that it is time that we cultivate a collective consciousness, which means that we need to build and adapt to all the climate-related impacts that we are facing today, not as isolated structures, but as ecosystems, as a community. Today's discussion is going to be around this, where we're going to deep dive into what are the different elements that constitute efficient designs that helps us build resilient structures. With that, I would like to open the panel and ask Ms. Aparna, as a professional deeply engaged in designing, planning, and execution, what emerging shifts in the market are you seeing with respect to climate resilient built environment and also overall architecture and planning?
Thank you, Deepali. I'd say the need for climate action is like urgent, like yesterday, so we can't afford to wait anymore. So our firm, Gensler, essentially, we made an audacious commitment in 2019, saying that by year 2030, whether clients ask us to or not, all of our projects are going to be carbon zero, right? And we didn't know how, right? But we, like everything else in life, if you put your intent out there, you'll figure out a way. So what we are doing is, our plan is, firstly, you can't do this alone. It's going to take partnerships and collaborations that are cross-firm, cross-industry to do this. The second is, how can you improve your design and delivery mechanisms and processes so that you are able to predict where you're going to land, right? And then the third is to find ways to measure and have accountability. So, intuitively feeling that this option is better than that, you'll get something. But if you really want to have significant impact, you really need to know where are you landing and how can you push it further and use even less carbon. So measurement and accountability is the third pillar of climate action at our firm.
Great. I think data is very critical in whatever we do. If we have the right data, we'll be able to implement the right measures. With that, Mr. Prashant, I would also like to understand from you, being a veteran in the commercial, residential and infrastructure space, delivering huge projects across, what kind of expectations do customers have in your network? And how are you trying to cater to those expectations with respect to sustainable designs, climate resilient buildings, sustainable materials? What change are you witnessing in your network?
Yeah, I think day by day the awareness to this kind of customer orientation is happening in a very big way, I would say, not only in India but over the entire area. And probably people have visited the first sustainable city, Masdar, where everything is absolutely different, and it's near Abu Dhabi, and I had fortune to be there when it was completed. So I believe that is one of the dreams that has come true for the human being, and things are possible. And that's where I think most of the customers are reaching us, and they are just talking about, they want something altogether different than what seeing the only concrete and, a lot of carbon, a lot of heat coming in, and, getting out of the nature, like F.L. Wright used to say, bringing, outside into inside. So probably that is the meaning of what FLW wanted to say to the architects, that can you build something which is a part of the nature rather than being out of the nature? So I think that is where the sustainability props in, whether we can bring the green inside, whether we can have the light or the heat filtered, and we can use the materials which is not like artificial materials that has come out of the different technology products. So most of the customers now, they want something, which is earthen, something which is absolutely natural, very close to the nature, whether it is a flowing water body or, the cascading effect within the hotels. You will find these things are coming up now again. It was there in the earlier days. I was just wondering, we had Hawa Mahal in Jaipur, which was actually a jali out of stone, and it could control the air movement and heat movement inside. So one of my clients was saying that, Prashant, look, this happened in Rajasthan many, many years ago. Why it is not happening here now? So, these are the kind of mindset shift that's happening, I think, paradigm shift. And it is challenge for the architects to cope up with this rather than only merely looking after getting lead points. Sorry to say, but then getting the IGBC or all these kind of clearances, they all come out of these things. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very challenging, I know. But Dr. Batra said about, creating something which has a life beyond. Can the architects today imagine and visualize something that is going to happen down the line in terms of climate change, in terms of, many natural calamities happening around us, and how do we design structure to suit all that and still make the customers or the residents happy? I think that is challenge for all of us.
Absolutely. I think being an architect, it's also important for you to keep the aesthetics in mind. Even though we talk about sustainability elements being integrated, there's still, that element that the aesthetics should be appealing. It should look good, irrespective of what material goes in.
Yeah, aesthetics is the main thing, I think, is the trend of the day. We always call that architects create trends. So if that is there, then that is again a jigsaw puzzle. I would say that we have aesthetics on one end and all these green aspects on the other end and trying to match them up. But I believe that if we keep trying to resolve this puzzle, probably the sustainable elements would help you achieving a better aesthetics than what we see today.
Absolutely. There's another big focus that we're witnessing today, which is on the entire life cycle of any building. there's a lot of focus on assessing what are the embodied carbons for a building. Considering this, it's important to note that, steel, glass, all of these elements go into the construction of any building. Steel contributes to about 25% of construction sector's embodied carbon. While glass and steel extraction, manufacturing, transport, the entire process emits a lot of carbon emissions into the environment across the life cycles. Sunita, my question is for you as a developer designing for climate resilience. What is the role of materials like glass and steel in contributing to embodied carbon? And how does this shape your material selection and design elements?
So, out of syllabus questions, मतलब तुम्हारे, I mean, जो questions तुमने मुझे नहीं किए, वो उसका answer देना चाहती हूँ पहले. First of all, from a collective consciousness perspective, I think I'm a little surprised today that we are sitting in Novotel and Novotel has offered plastic bottles. And consciously or unconsciously, because the nudge was provided to us, वो bottle है, पीना ज़रूरी नहीं है. हमने उसमें से पिया है. Okay, we are all sustainability professionals here. I have my bottle as a statement. I don't drink out of plastic. The reason I believe is that water or bottled water, water is a right. And I have right to drinking water wherever I go. Okay, and it is an expectation that I should be able to fill my water bottle with clean water. And can we imagine a world where drinking water is available for all, not at a cost and not in plastic? That is one. So that is about the consciousness out of syllabus. Totally, मेरे को पूछा नहीं था आपने ये, मैंने बोल दिया. The other thing is about, again out of syllabus, it is about the way we design and how climate change is impacting the design of buildings. And I just came out of a meeting where there was a heated debate because I won't give up till my interventions or recommendations are integrated into the development. So I work for Mahindra Lifespaces and there was a project where there was a Nala. And that Nala is experiencing 1 in 100-year flood and it's in Pune, and Pune it started rains in May. And I had told them that no basements and the Nala diversion should not happen. The irrigation department gave us a NOC. The diversion happened. There is a sewer line running through that Nala. Diversion has happened. There are bends. And what happens if a Nala is going like this and there is a 90-degree bend, what happens to the water? And what happens typically when you have a Nala? Nala is a water body. It's not dirty or anything. It's a seasonal water body which gets inundated when there is rain and it's emptying into Mulla River, right? And, so this work has started, excavation has started, and there is flooding. And it gave me goosebumps when I went to the site and I said, bola tha maine. And irrigation department does 1 in 5-year rainfall. Abhi rainfall ho hi nahi raha hai na 1 in 5 year. It is a 1 in 25 year, 1 in 50 year, 1 in 100 year. And every time the rainfall pattern is moving ahead, right? So does it rain in May? It doesn't. May 20th, there was a huge deluge. The site got flooded at that time. And now we are discussing usko kya karna hai, utilities kahan leke jana hai. Okay, so proactive action is what we have to undertake. And we have to also integrate it into design. There is a huge amount of learning architects need to do on rainfall and climate change. If architects don't know what nature is going to do to you and to your developments, please, there is one element that you have missed. You have actually missed climate responsive design sections. The climatology section and building physics is totally ignored during the course of the work. There are very few colleges which integrate that into design. There is SPA, there is IIT Roorkee, and all these colleges emphasize and get the architects to design according to climate responsive design. So why I'm bringing this is what we do as a company. So we have integrated climate responsive design as a process, and we have integrated into the business development process that site kaisa hai, and what kind of sites should we touch, what kind of risks you're going to face, and what are the financial impact that if you take particular site and you have said that this is going to be an IRR of this particular site, this is the FSI, and I will add on to it, this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do, and if it is undoable at all, I'll give the entire financial impact of building on that site. And it is very difficult, it is not very easy. I won't be able to do the calculations and every site is different, okay? But we have integrated that as a process. Then we have integrated climate responsive design as a process, and there is a third initiative that we are doing, which is a thought leadership initiative, and I would invite all architectural firms and all developers to actually join that. It is called the Decarbonization Business Charter. It is about real estate companies and the ecosystem. You mentioned that you have taken that target, and I was really amazed that you have taken that target, that we want to do net zero carbon. Please come on board. We don't know how to do it. I would want to invite you and to you as well as GBCI, because Griha is already part of it. GNFZ is also part of it. We need to have those conversations together. Now coming back to the in-syllabus question, sorry I'm taking longer. Embodied carbon is critical. Embodied carbon has an impact on operational carbon, which nobody is talking about. We are creating these glass hot houses, glass cool houses because it's air conditioned, emissions associated with, so unfortunately we are adding spaces that have to be artificially cooled. It adds on to the glass. So if a builder wants to sell better, these rooms will have more glass. And when rooms have more glass, and in a residential building, if they have glass end to end, it causes heat gain. And you were anyway going to put the curtain in it, but the heat gain has come, and you will use a AC to cool it. And that is what is happening, unfortunately. It adds on to the embodied carbon, no doubt. Glass, aluminium, steel, concrete. The major contributors are actually steel and concrete. The way to reduce the emissions associated in embodied carbon is LC3, which is calcined clay concrete cement, which is a technology where calcined clay is used to reduce the embodied carbon of the cement, but only one company has started producing it, which is JK Cement. There are issues associated with the production, because the entire cement production has to be stopped for a cement company to undertake LC3 production. Then there is GFRB, which is the glass fiber reinforced polymer plastic, which is now used for what you call the outside development, not for the structural. It is not yet permitted for structural, but there is a huge uptake on that, especially for sewers and the external infrastructure development. So these elements we are exploring. Modular constructions, if the modularity in construction can be brought in, it will impact positively on the embodied carbon. The other thing is that the relationship between embodied carbon and this is that if you use concrete walls, which you are using now, it increases the operational carbon intensively. There is no insulation that is being added. The regulation is still not in place. For commercial, many buildings do it because it helps in operational costs. For residential, there needs to be a strong foot put down by the government that insulation is a must. And glass has to be limited. Glass is like tobacco. If you don't use it with care, it will come and bite you. Okay, so windowsill from a safety perspective, 1.2. Currently, go and look in the city. Do visit. You're from Delhi. Do visit number of buildings with safety risk, heat risk, climate risk, everything.
Absolutely. I think you've made a very valid point that which we usually miss out is embodied carbon contributes to operational carbon as well. The glass buildings, I think traditionally we all went with glass buildings because they were aesthetically good, but the most uncomfortable buildings, and I've unfortunately sat in that kind of a building for a lot of years initially, and I know how uncomfortable they were. The amount of heat ingress and the requirements for cooling are significantly higher. So definitely there's an overall impact in operations as well. Another point that you raised is climate risk assessment during design phase. I think that's also another critical point, because if we start at the planning and design stage, that's where we can kind of have a larger impact. We can safeguard our buildings and assets from different climate-related events. With that, Mr. Lalit, I would like to ask you, What are some of the design strategies or initiatives that you undertake at your organization to enhance resiliency and to build a sustainable environment?
Thank you very much, first of all, Realty and Harit Bharat organizer for inviting me as a speaker. Before I came to your question, and I just wanted to tell about the Kalpataru group. Kalpataru has been, legacy, working in a green building in 2009, from 2009. We have constructed a first building in Asia, which is a platinum building, and 6 in world. So, and we have so far constructed a 39 platinum buildings. So it's our legacy, I would say. As far as the design aspects, we have to adopt quickly the IT tools, BEAM, IoT, and AI technology in a designing aspects. And we have to see the product life cycle also. From, as Madam rightly mentioned, that embodied carbon footprint for the material. Because you see the cement we are buying, for the construction of building, it has a more than 6% emission globally. Then still we have a 7 to 8%. Glass is another unfortunate part, I would say. We have been nowadays we are using a toughness glass, which is another challenge for us because we can't recycle it. So we have to go for an entire product life cycle. And Kalpataru has taken a lot of initiative. I just wanted to tell you, we have just completed climate risk assessment as per the GRE guideline. This is the first EPC company. And there was a surprising fact we came to know, even Mumbai, we are constructing so many buildings, because you know the pressure for urbanization. Sometimes we go for a low-lying area, we are constructing building, and you can see that nowadays, every last 9 years, what is happening. So we have to adopt the IT tools. We go for a product life cycle, and we have to go for a embodied carbon, less carbon product like a cement. Nowadays is available green cement, where fly ash is being used. Then green steel is also available, but not availability is adequate quantity is not available. So it's a pressure for us. Most important thing which I just wanted to highlight is, because most of the EPCs company are running are very tight margin. Who is going to take this additional cost? Because incentives are not there. As the gentleman mentioned that consumers, I don't think so consumers are so conscious to pay premium for the green building. They want, but they are not least bothered about it. They want to see the cost. So is a pressure from all the corners. And there is a lack of collaborative efforts. There are so many people are working, FICCI, CII, many other NGOs also. But there is no common platform for knowledge sharing where we can work together and drive the sustainability initiatives. So that's the problem.
Yes, you're right. There is no common platform where you can access what is available in the market. A lot of times we also get requests that we want to go with sustainable materials, but we don't know how to go about it. We don't know where it sits. We're not even sure whether it will be available in the quantities that we are expecting. What is going to be the strength?
But climate risk is very, very important. I would suggest everybody has to do. Very important for designing the buildings. Because you can avoid many, we can go for energy efficient design, HVAC, proper maintenance, which people are not doing for renewable energy resources. So that kind of climate risk assessment, if we do properly, then we can get all the feelings like.
Right, absolutely. Now I would like to ask Mr. George, who's from GBCI, how is GBCI, through its rating systems and tools, guiding the shift towards a low-carbon future and sustainable materials future in India?
Thanks, Deepali. Thanks for your question. And thanks to the Realty Plus team for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with the co-panelists here as well. Coming to your question, Um, for 30 plus years, the council, the US Green Building Council and GBCI, we've had a rating system called LEED certification, which has a parameter of materials section as well. And in the materials section, the intent has always been to reduce the embodied carbon. So it is the the architects, the engineers, the consultants who are there in the projects, they have a whole lot of independence to choose among which materials to take in their project. Because as a rating system, we are not prescriptive. We always have a scorecard and guidelines in place. But the client, that is the architects and the engineers, choose among which products to take forward in their projects. Further, what we also suggest to the project team is to also look at the equipments in that perspective as well, because there's a to and fro when it comes to, let's say, if you choose a particular glass, you will also have to choose a particular mechanical system to go in tandem with that particular glass. So in that way, the architects and the engineers choose the particular materials and the products also. And as a rating system, we always have been suggesting the project teams to look at EPD certified products and materials as well. So what happens is that when they go into select products based on the EPD, the manufacturers are then looking at ways and means to have their products certified over, with the EPD. That flows down to your raw materials sourcing. So the entire life cycle of the entire supply chain is basically affected, and that gives rise to us taking care of reducing the embodied carbon. So that is what, as a rating system, we have been continuously doing. Now, it's not just the onus of the design and the designer of the project. We have to go one step beyond, and many of the projects are also doing that, is that the designer designs the building and gives it to the end user. What happens post that? So the operational efficiency and the operational team and the facilities team have to also make sure that in terms of operations, they are taking care of the building's performance. And that being said, that gives rise to us looking at the entire building's life cycle. So it's not just getting your projects in the design and phase certified. Look at how you're performing in your existing, the existing assets, how you're performing. And in fact, a lot of clients of ours use that platform. It's readily available for understanding how your building is performing at the present moment and how you can improve on your building performances by doing a lot of gap analysis on that. So that platform is called ARC. And projects then from the design phase then go into the operations phase, and then they can also look at the net zero aspects. So this is how, as a rating organization, we are supporting our clients. And a lot of projects across India and across the globe are actually moving into this direction to address the need of the hour of embodied carbon as well. Yeah. So absolutely. So what happens is that with each of the state governments, the councils, may it be the national council or the international council, we keep in close touch with the government agencies, the authorities, and bring about a bylaw which is there for the extra FAR allotment for projects which attempt for a particular rating typology, whether it be gold or platinum, they'll have a particular percentage of FAR. So definitely that is there. That's a advantage which clients have been taking forward by going in for certifications. But the intent is to actually change the entire supply chain, right from the manufacturer to, and that change can only come when the demand from the developer is there, and that's rightfully there right now with clients demanding those products and the supply chain also changing. It's a slow progress, but definitely we have to work collectively on that front as well.
Absolutely. I think it's very important to bring the entire ecosystem together, not just your own organization, but the entire value chain. we've also discussed a lot about how interventions at the design stage really contribute to mitigating climate change impacts. With that, Aparna, I would like to ask you if you can throw some light and give examples on what are some of the strategies that you've adopted at the design stage, and also how this whole climate-related integration has become critical right from planning and designing rather than just being an add-on service.
Sure. I think you hit the nail on the head. First, educating yourself, being current with what today's needs are. Most of our codes are outdated or not relevant to what's happening. And also there's a lot of new learning and technology happening globally. So connecting all the dots and staying ahead. But the most important strategy is build less, right? So we have incentives right now for redevelopment, right? And as a country, yes, we have a lot of work to be done. But we are seeing perfectly good buildings being torn down when they could have stood for another 20 years, only because there is no incentive for people to keep that in place, right? So we need to figure that out. So even as designers, often, we get a plot where a client has an existing building, but they want to maximize their FSI, and they're like, let's, get rid of this building. And we're like, no, that structure is perfectly good. And we find ways of integrating that into the final scheme and be really innovative. So it's a win-win, or maybe some compromise to the FSI, but overall, it's definitely a win. But coming back to the design process, right? Often clients bring in sustainability consultants late in the design process. And by then, the ship has sailed. You really can't make significant impact. So what we have done as a firm is we have, besides increasing the knowledge level of each and every designer at every stage of design, what we've also done is develop tools in the early design stage that help us to know where our design will land. So we are a very large design firm. We have over 1 billion square feet of work delivered annually, right? So we can really create a big impact. So we are actually measuring the LPD and EUI of every single project in our portfolio, right? And we are measuring ourselves that how are we doing better than ASHRAE 2007 or the CBES, the survey for the EUI. So we are also inputting that database and we are landing, right? Like our projects in 2024 were anywhere from 11%, say for a lab or a data center, which is they're energy hogs, right up to even 77% better than the baseline, right? But then we've developed tools taking all of that data so that the designers can see in massing level at the concept stage, the choice of materials that they are using, the orientation, they're able to analyze the, or capitalize on the wind direction, natural ventilation, daylight analysis, impact of solar radiation, all of that in that early design stage. So you know where you're going to land basis all of this data. So those are some of the interventions that we are doing. We also have a tool called, which looks at the carbon based on your material selection, early design stage. And then of course there are other initiatives, for the embodied carbon. But these things will really help the operational carbon in the long run.
I think that's a very valid point. And we've also witnessed in the past that, involving green consultants right at the planning stage really helps. And a lot of times we've seen that companies go with alternate sustainable materials without increasing their cost. So these are the things which are practically possible. It's just the mindset and approach that has to be in line. And, that's how we can drive change. With that, George, I would also like to ask you, how is GBCI integrating resiliency and climate change impacts in the overall rating system?
Thanks, Deepali. GBCI and USGBC, we made a conscious choice or a decision to have our rating system evolve on a regular basis. So we have taken a 5-year cycle. Coincidentally, this year we released the latest version of LEED, that is the version 5, which is up to use for clients as well. So what is the change which we have brought about in the latest version? So V5 focuses mainly on 3 parameters, or rather the 110 points are revolving around these 3 parameters, which is 1, decarbonization, second is the quality of life, and the third is ecological conservation and restoration. So these 3 parameters are basically addressing all the 110 points are being derived or tagged into these 3 parameters. And definitely it has become, it challenges the projects to look at further improving on their design strategies and operational efficiency. In terms of, let's say, decarbonization, the outlook is to look at operational carbon, embodied carbon, and also on the travel-related carbon. So that is where the decarbonization aspects are. In terms of quality of life, what we are looking at is the resiliency, human health aspect, which is very much essential, and also in terms of the land usage, which is happening on that. And in terms of ecology and restoration, we look at how, in terms of resilience, how in terms of the green spaces are being utilized. So all these aspects are being covered in the latest version of LEED. So this is a decision of the council to always make sure that they keep up, we keep upgrading the rating system. And that, in fact, a lot of our key clients, in fact, last year we had the beta stage running, wherein 50+ projects from across the globe participated in this version 5, wherein our technical teams, alongside with theirs, we explored how we can attain more points or rather achieve those points in this rating, in this newer version. And clients from across the globe have shown interest to actually, pull up their socks and, in fact, go ahead to, attain a rather stringent rating system like the latest version. So with that in mind, the council is always trying to keep, upgrading the rating system, and also to make sure that we help our clients to achieve their net zero targets with respect to their commitments. So that's how we, as an organization, have been working alongside with our clients.
Sure. Thanks for those inputs. While we do talk about all of these initiatives with certain credits attached, and of course this gives some incentive to organizations, they get some certification, which is of course an added advantage, but there are a lot of ground level challenges and barriers to adopt these initiatives as well. With that, I would like to ask both Mr. Prashant and Mr. Lalit, maybe you could start. What are the ground level challenges that are there to, integrate such initiatives in our built environment?
Yeah, I think I told you in the beginning only that there are going to be challenges where these compromises are to be made with a reference to maybe maintaining the aesthetic part of it, or as he said, he highlighted on the cost affordability of the customers also. Yes, these two things are definitely there. But then I think our primary intent should be to design something which suits the various codes. We kind of reduce the carbon emission. Whatever it is, whichever way we can do it, that is our lookout. I think I could cite out a few examples from the cost perspective also. After COVID, we were kind of designing for what is known as a disease investigation center first of its kind in India, where we did not want the building to touch the ground. So that was the main condition given to me, that the contamination is happening from below the ground. So we really had to think a lot as to how to get this up. And when we tried various different methodology, and it is up there now in Pune with 12 BS2 class labs. Okay, with all kinds of, without RCC, without brickwork. So maybe, so those kind of things need to be done at the design itself. There are a lot of challenges that come in, and we had to isolate whatever the columns that came to the slab level by treating them from the medical perspective, so that there is no penetration from that area. And they're all there now, right now, so that is one. Second thing, I think I was just talking to you about another project where we had a big slope of 11 meters, and then they wanted a one plane, and today we have a lot of equipment like JCB, people are crazy. They break the contour shape and they fill it up and then again dig it up for the foundations, which is a crazy game to do. So we want to retain the earth slope and try and design buildings to suit those kind of slopes. Now, in one of this project, which was Finland company, and they were insisting that the entire thing has to be at one plane. That means we had to do a filling of about 11 meters. Now, if I am doing from 0 to 11, then we require a retaining wall all round, and this plot was something like 5 acres. So it was going in crores, the cost of the retaining wall. And retaining wall is a rigid member. So I was discussing with the same Finnish guys, and we came out with a solution of a Gabion wall. A Gabion wall is a flexible member. It is more earthen. It allows the forces to move out. Okay. It allows the water to move out. And we also carried out tests by taking cores every now and then during the course. Okay, so it has also gone for certification, one of the best examples. So we try to reduce nothing less than 2.5 crores by using the technology and by still retaining all the things intact. Maybe, unfortunately, I had to fill it up to get that level, and we did not go for a slab. We still went for that, and then, today we have so many years after that, no cracks in the flooring at all. So, I mean, we are doing these kind of things, which you also told, that when the topic comes in, I think we need to find out various options which could be cost effective, so that the customers are happy at the end of the day. Why not? I mean, I was reading about the atriums and the courts, the courtyard, which was Indian traditional style, and we have gone out of the courtyard style. So why the courtyard was there? It was from the green perspective itself, so that the light is there, the air is there, and everything is there. And when we talk about atriums, client feel that it is just a fantastic idea. Architect wants to bring in, but the atrium has a lot of things to contribute. So this need to be penetrated in the right perspective, then the things will, I think, happen.
Yeah, I just wanted to couple of things which I personally experiencing challenges which you asked. Number one, if you see the globally, more than 2 million alternate material has been discovered, which has a less carbon footprint. Yeah. But this adaptability, mindset is a challenge, number one. Capabilities is not there. Workers who are working at site level, they are more comfortable with the concrete, cement, and this one. They are not accepting a new technology or new material. So this is the one thing, capabilities issues, we have to increase or we have to train the people. Number two, policy. Like NBC, I'm just giving one example which I faced in my company. I've been pushing hard to go for EV equipments. High level, excavators and JCBs. Unfortunately, even our management approved. There's a significant capital investment, but RTO was not ready to register because there is no government policy. So for last 6 months, we are struggling. So there is a gap in the policy, and there is adaptability of the people. workers are not ready. And I mentioned that incentives, government policy, they have to give us some kind of incentive. So otherwise, we keep talking in such a conference hall, but the real results will not come out.
Absolutely. I think you've made a very important point related to policy. With that, I would like to ask you, Dr. Sunita, we talk about climate resiliency in conferences, and maybe as an organization independently, I make my buildings climate resilient. But if the entire ecosystem, infrastructure, or at a city level, there are no changes, then it doesn't really help me to sustain in the longer run. With that, I would like to ask you, what kind of policy level changes or city level changes would you like to suggest to enhance climate resiliency?
One point I just wanted, I forgot to add here, about the C&D waste. That's the biggest challenge. Government approved 65 plants in India, and we are able to install only 16 to 17 plants. So like in Mumbai and metro cities, many buildings are going for redevelopment, but we don't have an infrastructure where we should dispose our C&D waste and how to utilize it, recycle it. So that's one point I just forgot to mention.
No, so that gives a good segue into what I'm going to. So C&D waste definitely needs to be taken into account, but I want to come back to your point. Why redevelop in the first place? Okay, is there a need? What kind of structural? So again, a policy change on that is required. C&D waste, there is a C&D waste regulation, updated regulation, but implementation of that regulation is going to be very difficult. If C&D waste credits are established, and if it goes in the wrong direction, we are in for a lot of pain. So even the challenge with policy is, it's not about just bringing in a policy, but what would be the governance of the policy? Whose roles, responsibilities, where does the builder run to? Who do I go in the authority who says that, okay, this is where you will have to send it, this is the NOC I'm giving, but this is also the tipping fee, this is the processing plant that you have to send it to. So currently that clarity is not there. So that is one. The other is on the climate resilience in cities. And at a policy level, every city needs to develop a heat action plan and a flood mitigation plan and a climate action plan. Now, if all of these plans sit with different institutes in the local authorities, they are not going to talk to each other. They have to be spoken in togetherness, because the green-blue infrastructure is what will give resilience to a city, right? It will also mitigate the heat. It will also mitigate urban flooding, okay? It will have an impact of planning permissions, and there is a need to actually bring in monitoring, IT-based digital platforms for monitoring where permissions are being given. So are you building over a water body? Are you building, cutting down trees of a particularly nice development and redeveloping it? What happens to the heritage trees in those developments? Who is taking count of all of that? So policy level to actually say, okay, these are the things we will tolerate, these are the things we will not tolerate. Currently, building planning permission is happening differently. The heat action plan is happening differently. The climate action plan is happening differently. And if you take BMC as a body, the BMC main body has a lot of authority. But the climate action plan, they are toothless. Sorry, I'm calling it out sitting in Mumbai. They are toothless. So if BMC works with the climate action plan cell, Mumbai has a carbon strategy. Okay, it has disclosed in climate disclosure project. But what about the vulnerability? What about Pune's climate action plan? Okay, so policy, governance of that policy, roles, responsibilities, accountability at the last mile, and what does it mean in terms of building planning permissions? What does it mean in terms of RERA? There is no clarity. So that drill down is important. So if a policy is a good policy, only if it goes down to that level. If currently there is no clarity here, sometimes we don't even have a policy. For example, if you go to Assam, and Assam is facing a lot of construction, but it doesn't have a urban planning policy. that, you know, this is what we'll tolerate, this is what we'll not tolerate. Or for example, what happened in Uttarakhand. Should we do all of these developments in Uttarakhand? So it's a case of missing policies, definitely. But if there is a policy in place, what is the next level? We don't have the wherewithal. Government doesn't have money. So should we set up decarbonization cells in every state? Should we set up climate resilience cell? Should we work with disaster management people कि हाँ हम नहीं करने वाले climate resilience, इसलिए हमको disaster management का एक cell बनाना चाहिए कि कितने कम लोग मरे या मरे या जिए हमको क्या? So all of these have to be thought through. No, I'm a straight shooter actually. So
yes, I think it definitely makes sense. Policy should be there, it should be implemented effectively, and definitely there should be a strong governance to ensure that everything is rightly done. With that, thank you so much everyone. We can now open for questions, and because our time is up. So, questions anyone?
Questions over here, if you can please ask, mentioning your name and to the one whom you were asking the question.
I'm Paddy from GRESP. My question is to George. So USGBC and GBCI have always been, leveling up their game in terms of the rating systems over the years, and there's a lot being done on the materials side. So with V5 also coming in, and at this juncture we see grade A developers are already evolved to an extent, so is their supply chain. But when it comes to the other developers, the medium and smaller size, and also the MSMEs who typically want to do LEED and who are interested in looking at global frameworks like LEED certification for their developments. So is there conscious effort from the USGBC, GBCI to also work with manufacturers in terms of helping them achieve good EPDs or identify their EPDs and kind of have a network of theirs in place so that the other developers or the other clients who have not attempted the LEED version 5 or the 4.1 can also kind of join the bandwagon? Is something happening on that front?
Thanks for the question, Paddy. Coincidentally, we have been discussing with the Apparels Export Organization, which is based out of Gurgaon. And similar kind of, they have several members across India who are providing clothing brands to they're exporting their brands basically. So we have been compelling, or rather, suggesting them to look at their operational level, strategies with respect to their, apparel factories. So we are having capacity building sessions happening along with these, members, and that definitely will translate and transcend to their, buildings or factories being much more operationally efficient. Similar way, we are having, organizational discussions happening with other councils. We have our tie-ups with ISHRE, we have our tie-ups with CREDAI. So all the different sectors as well, we are trying to see how we can work together to make sure that, in terms of not just the design perspective, but in terms of operational efficiency, we are able to meet the requirements, the future requirements of getting into net zero. So that definitely a lot of work is done on that perspective from the council. Yeah. Thanks.
Any more questions? If someone wants to ask, we have a bandwidth for one more question, and then any more questions that will be only catered in the networking zone. Anybody wants to ask something? I believe not. So on that note, we come to an end of the Q&A part. And ladies and gentlemen, can I please request all of you to give a big round of applause for all our esteemed speakers over here. Thank you so much for joining us. It's truly an honor and privilege to have all of you. I'll request all of you to please wait. And in the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be calling up on stage Architect Mahesh Bangar, Chairman, Architects, Engineers and Surveyors Associations, Pune, to please kindly come up on stage and give away the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers over here. Can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Mahesh as well, please? Thank you so much. Can we have the token of appreciation on stage? Thank you. over here at the front, please. Sir, you also join, please, over there. And yes, in order to appreciate all the knowledge and insights that they shared from there, and can I please request all of you to clap a little bit for all our speakers over here? That's the least that we can do to appreciate their presence and honor. So thank you so much.